Hello, welcome to Cable Plus Property, your number one online educative platform on all issues related to land and landed properties. As always, at Cable Plus Property, our aim is to ensure that every Nigerian and non-Nigerian has easy access to information about land acquisition, land procurement, building construction, registration, documentation, and obtaining planning permit. In this episode, it's quite interesting because I'll be speaking with a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Hakeem Ogunbambi. My name is Oiza. Let's go. Engineer Hakeem Ogunbambi is a fellow of Nigeria Society of Engineers, Nigerian Institute of Civil Engineers, Nigerian Institute of Environmental Engineers, and a registered member of Council of Regulation of Engineers. He is presently a principal partner with Alluvial Comprehensive Services Limited and director of Hanorado Global Solution. He's a very successful civil, hydraulic, and environmental engineer and has held various positions in the Lagos State Civil Service. He commenced his career on the 26th of March 1985 as Executive Engineer 2, got his appointment confirmed on the 26th of March 1987. He has since worked and risen through the ranks as Executive Engineer 1 in 1986, Executive Engineer, and risen to become a Senior Executive Engineer in 1990, and was back to duty at the Drainage Department, Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning in 1991. He further worked as Principal Executive Engineer in 1993, Assistant Chief Executive Engineer in 1996, Chief Executive Engineer in 1999, and was deployed to Lagos State Waterfront and Tourism Development Corporation as head of the Engineering and Physical Planning in year 2000. In 2005, he was appointed Assistant Director and Head of Engineering, Lagos State Urban Renewal Authority, before he was moved to the Lagos State Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development as Project Manager, where he headed the relocation of Okobaba Sawmill to Ejirin, Agbowa. In 2008, he was appointed the Director, Drainage Department, Office of Drainage Services, Lagos State Ministry of Environment. Engineer Ogunbambi reached the zenith of his career when he was appointed the Permanent Secretary, Office of Environmental Services, Lagos State Ministry of Environment on the 12th of March 2013. He has been in private practice since he retired from the service of Lagos State Government in 2015, and he is married to Bolajoko Ogunbambi, and the union is blessed with children. In addition to that, he is a member of Ikoyi Club and Island Club Lagos. Join me as I have this conversation with Engineer Hakeem Ogunbambi. Good afternoon, sir. Good to have you here. Okay, so our viewer would like to know what civil engineering entails in general, and then in particular, hydraulic engineering.
Civil engineering, from the word civil, means engineering that is related to human beings. Human beings would like to have shelter. That's how, so you have engineers building houses. Human beings will generate waste. We talk about solid waste and wastewater. So if you go to toilet, you are generating waste. If you eat and you have debris or disposables there and then, you are generating waste. So that's part of civil engineering. So civil engineers, they design wastewater treatment. They design sanitary landfill site where you treat waste. Okay. So the word civil, like I said, is related to human beings. So civil engineers too, when you want to move yourself from one place to the other, it's the role of the civil engineer to build the road for you. Even if you are traveling on water, civil engineers too will have to design the navigational channel for you in terms of dredging of the channel, in terms of the navigation furnitures here and there. So civil engineers are any aspect that has to do with human beings. That's the responsibility of the civil engineer. So civil engineering is the engineering that actually solves human problems. So you ask question about
hydraulic engineering.
Hydraulic engineering is a branch of civil engineering. You say in civil engineering you have courses like structural engineering, you have courses like road engineering. You do all these ones as part of your elective in undergraduate days. So, or you can now specialize on them in your postgraduate. You can specialize as structural engineer. That means you have MSc structural engineering. You can specialize as hydraulic engineer. That means you have MSc hydraulic engineering or PhD, whatever. The same thing with sanitary engineering. Nowadays, they combine sanitary together with water, and they call it environmental engineering. So, hydraulic engineering is a branch of engineering that deals with the applied science of water. Engineering itself is applied science. So, but the hydraulic engineering is that engineering that controls and also manages the storage and transportation of water. It's just like, let me give you a layman's definition. Hydraulic engineering is about whether you want water to remain in one place, or you want to push it to move. So you can push it to move inside pipe system, or you can push it to move in the atmosphere. That is the other, in hydraulic engineering, you have it pipe flow. You have pipe flow. How you generate water in your house is called pipe flow system and all that. Then you have the open channel, that is the one that moves around freely on ground. That's what they call open channel. So hydraulic, like now the full definition there is that hydraulic engineering consists of two parts: the pipe flow system and the open channel system. And also, I need to say one thing about hydraulic engineering. Is part of the water sciences. It's part of the water engineering itself. When you cannot really deal with water engineering without actually without actually touching hydraulic engineering. So it's like we are applying engineering mechanics to water, to manipulate water.
So why did you choose hydraulic engineering? Take us through your journey into that part of engineering.
Let me say one thing. I never had intention of doing hydraulic engineering, although I fell in love with open channel hydraulics when I was during my undergraduate days. One of the lecturers actually came from America to energize some of us. So we fell in love with it. But when I started work, then there was a lot of unemployment in the country then. After the SAP application by the Bangida's regime. So I just wanted to work anywhere. So I got a job with Lagos State Ministry of Works and Transport then. So when I got there, actually they said they were looking for vacancy in water department. Water unit, water department. So when the two of us were employed, so the first person that reported before me got absorbed in the department. So they were now saying, Mr. Ogunbambi, where do we put you? So I floated for nearly 2 weeks before they asked, okay, let's take you to drainage department. That's how I found myself in drainage department. And from there now, I started showing interest. But luckily enough, you were reading my resume, you missed out something. I went for training abroad. I went for training in Netherlands, that is Holland. I got scholarship to go abroad to do hydraulic engineering. That was when the passion actually came on. Netherlands is like they are the master of water. Anything water. They're the best in the world. Their country is about 4 meters below North Sea. Do you know North Sea? And their country has the characteristic of a delta too. It's actually a delta. There's a river coming from Switzerland called River Rhine. It travels all the way to Germany before discharging into the North Sea. So Netherlands is the lowest part of the river, is the most downstream part of the River Rhine. So it forms a delta together with Belgium. Part of Belgium is part of the River Rhine delta too. So, and in Netherlands, right from primary school, they teach you about water engineering. You must know something about it, because they create the awareness that at any point in time, the whole country can be submerged in water, because they had that experience in 1953. They lost about 10,000 people. So they now came up with what they call the Delta Works project. So what they did was to barricade the entire North Sea. The North Sea rose to flood the country. So they now came up with engineering solution. They say, okay, we're going to stop the North Sea from coming in. So they blocked the entire outlet. And they only left one for Rotterdam port. But there too, they did so many engineering works too. So hydraulic engineering is about stopping water. You can stop water through dams. You can stop water through dikes. You can stop water. That is, if you want to stop it from moving at all. So you do dams. You've heard about dams.
Yes.
You heard about River Ocean Dam. You can also stop it from rising. So that's when you put dikes by the side of streams. Now, if you want it to move too, you can allow it to move inside water by generating different applications there. I don't want to let us go into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, so having said all of this, what branches of engineering are relevant to the building industry?
Very good question. What branch of engineering, or what branches of engineering are relevant? First of all, we'll take structural engineering. Before you can get your structure to be stable, you have to put in some form of a kind of, or maybe I'll call it a kind of hold against wind, against pressure from the ground, against. So structural engineering, they design to hold different parts of the building together. I mean structural engineers. Also, you have foundation engineering. Some people want to put structures in water or in bad soil. So you need experts to design that interface between the superstructure and the soil itself. And that's why you have foundation engineers. We also have soil engineers. So we're talking about the building industry now.
Yes.
So just like in Lagos, we have marshy areas. About 60% of Lagos, consists of water and wetland, and that's where people are building. So you need foundation soil engineers. Sometimes you need reclamation engineers. Although people reclaim here in Lagos without actually doing the proper reclamation engineering there. Also, you need drainage engineers too for building industry. For building industry too, then you need I refer to what I call building engineers. They have to arrange the different building materials together and come up with a proper fit structure. So there are others, maybe I cannot remember here. But you have to do sanitary too, because you have to generate waste from the the common thing that we find in most buildings, the common thing is the septic tank and soak waste system. So you have engineers in charge of those ones too.
So as an hydraulic engineer,
yes,
what is flooding, and are there natural or man-made causes for flooding? Or what causes flooding?
Yes, flooding. Flooding is the situation where you have water level overtopping or rising more than the top of the river or the drain or the canal or stream. So what are the causes of flooding? That's a very complex question, but it has answers there. What I would term the causes of flooding as natural and anthropogenic. When I say natural, due to climatic condition, heavy rainfall. Sometimes when you have heavy rainfall, you discover that the drains, the rivers, the canals, the streams are not able to cope. So they continue to overtop. That's climate, that's natural. There's no way you can control that. That's an act of God. Also, when I say natural, Lagos has a coast, and Lagos is sometimes subjected to tidal condition. When I say tidal condition, that is the movement of water inside the Atlantic Ocean. You have two tides in a day. You have the high tide and the low tide occurring twice in a day. So, and sometimes you have a special tide. They call it, I can't remember, but it comes maybe once in a year, very high. And when it comes in like this, water finds it difficult to discharge into the Lagos Lagoon or the Atlantic Ocean. So you can have problem with flooding there. Also, if you pave nearly everywhere, you understand the word pave. I mean, when you don't allow water to percolate into the ground. So that's why you normally say when you want to build, you must build certain percentage of the land and leave the others to be natural. So if you pave everywhere and you don't allow water to percolate into the ground, you are likely going to generate flooding. I'll give you an example. The old Ikoyi was designed in such a way that maybe you only use 30% of your land to build and leave the others to drain. The original Ikoyi, there was never a drainage system designed. The drainage system that was designed for the place was natural percolation. But with development here now, nearly everywhere is paved. Nearly everywhere is paved. So we can't rule out the possibility of flooding in such area feature. The other second Ikoyi, that's the Kefi side, those areas were sandfill, and the sandfilling was not properly. So there are other natural causes that we can see. But let me now go to the anthropogenic. Anthropogenic has to do with, well, if you have dislocation in your dysfunctional planning system, that is, if cities are not properly, I mean, if your city is not properly arranged, I mean, to cater for drains that are there to drain water out, you are likely going to get flooding. If you overbuild in the environment, like building the wetland all over, that's human, where the human being causing that part of flooding. So, and if we allow debris, I mean refuse, to continue to flow inside the system, if we reclaim, if we see wetland here, and we are reclaiming without actually making provision for water to leave the wetland, there is likely going to be flooding. That's caused by human being, and that's essentially where flooding in Lagos State is still revolving around. People are reclaiming here and there. So there are several causes there, both natural and the human-made causes. And also now, I can now say one thing about flooding. You can categorize flooding into just maybe 3 groups. You have what they call the urban flooding. Urban flooding has to do with us. We human beings, during our planning, sometimes may not plan very well for the flooding of our area, for the drainage system. So naturally, we're going to have that's what they call the urban flooding. Or you have a drainage system in place that has become non-functional, so that you need to upgrade here and there. So those ones, you can refer to those ones as urban flooding. Then you can now have what we can refer to as river flooding. You've heard about river all the time, which is always overflowing, and somebody will tell you that is the result of a dam being open. Well, I'm yet to see the proof that the flooding in River Ogun is caused by the dam being open. Then you have the third category, the coastal flooding. When you have the Atlantic Ocean rising, then sometimes you can have what they call surge. You can have ocean surge. Ocean surge is a result of climatology involving wind and the movement of the Earth's sun. So you can have water rising beyond a certain level and trying to come in from the shoreline inward. So in the time past, we used to have coastal flooding in Victoria Island before they now built the Atlantic City.
Lagosians are no strangers to flooding. I mean, when the rainy season is closed, that is one of the big issues, Lagosians have to deal with. Now, having spent years of experience with in hydraulics engineering, to be precise, would you say that the rate of flooding is increasing or decreasing?
That's another complex question to answer.
Okay.
No, I'll answer it. We would have said the rate of flood should be decreasing, but it is not. Because of the complication of the urban setup, the urban planning and urban. The issue is that the state needs to escalate planning and development control. Because when you try to solve flooding problem in certain area, immediately you solve that problem, you begin to see development. I'll give you an example. This Ikpakodo Road from Ikorodu Road there. I think it was built around 2000. It was built around 2007 or so, 2006, 2007. There were new developments on both sides of the road. I just passed through the place now and I found one. They've raised the road. They've turned it to a concrete road. 2. Now those houses beside the road, they are now far lower. They are 1 meter, 1.5 meters and something. They weren't like that before. And the number of structures coming up there is beyond my conception that is there no plan in here to control? Even that road was built, town planners are supposed to come in there and zone properly that, okay, this is kind of structure we must have here, this kind of. By the time you get to even the junction at this road coming here, coming to, is it this, towards down, it's called Ibeshe. At that junction, I'm beginning to see the emergence of market. These guys are going to generate waste. And where do they dump their waste? They dump it into the drains. And so when the rain comes again, the water overflows because the water may not flow. So the flooding situation is supposed to reduce, but it's not reducing in the sense that we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing with planning and development control. We need to escalate that. We need to canals that have been protected, that are supposed to be. You see, Lagos has a special configuration which is characterized by the geological condition of a delta. Lagos is like a delta. It's supposed to be like if a delta must have 2 estuaries. Do you know? I will define the estuary. Estuary is the kind of connection between inland water and the ocean. So all the water in Lagos passes through Komodo Channel. Lagos, as we are seeing, has several rivers from southwest. So nearly 80% of water from the rivers in southwest, they pass through Lagos. If you must know, they are not only they are not taking water alone. They are taking sediments. Sometimes when you look at the Lagos Lagoon, sometimes it's brownish. That means the water is trying to get out to the Atlantic Ocean. Sometimes it becomes blue again. Then the water is coming in from the Atlantic Ocean. That's what we call the tide, the low tide and the high tide. So where I'm going is flooding, despite the fact that Lagos State is trying as much as possible to provide drainage construction here and there. Immediately the area is the wetland has been removed. When I say wetland, it's a kind of detention area for water to stay during heavy. So immediately they build canal out of the wetland. You see developers coming here and there, and they increase I use the word permeability. So they reduce the permeability of water going to the land again. What is permeability? Permeability is a special property of soil that allows water to pass through its pores. You see you see soil. Soil is arranged in such a way that there are spaces between them inside the ground. So those spaces are available for water to now travel further down deep. So, but when you close those spaces, the pores, you close, so you reduce the permeability. Permeable means for a liquid to travel through a kind of
opening.
Yeah. So when you do that, you are increasing the tendency to have flooding. Even despite the fact that you are going to have canals there. The canal might have been designed to cope with so number of population or housing or whatever. But by the time you build everywhere up, the water level will rise. So when you are saying is the level of flooding reducing or increasing, I want to say that it's increasing because we are not tackle the other side of the
That's unfortunate. Does Lagos State have flood management strategy or master plan or something in place?
That's one beautiful thing about Lagos State. They've always been having drainage master plan. The first drainage master plan was done in 1973. That's for Lagos mainland. And after that, they've done so many master plans. They've done for Papa, they've done for Lagos Island, and they did one for Alimosho by extension to Ojo. They call it the Greater Lagos. But now they did one special one in 2015. They call it Drainage Master Plan for the entire Lagos. So the master plan is like a guiding document to tell you what and what to be done. So at any point in time, if you want to do anything, just go do the master plan. And the master plan is also to guide developers to that, okay, there's a drainage channel that is going to pass through this place. And this channel has also width as designed. So the width together with setbacks here and there, I will give you what they call the right of way of the channel. So this is like a guiding policy document to help, but you realize that sometimes the government will follow the master plan. Sometimes the stakeholders outside will push government officials not to follow.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, is it that these master plans are not working if we have them?
They are supposed to work, if not distorted. When I say they are supposed to work, in drainage design, you have what they call the destination. The destination is the outfall where all the water must go. And there's always an origin in the drainage design where the water will begin to start to flow. Then there's the alignment, that is the route to take it from the origin to the destination. You see, between the origin and the destination, that you have that's where you have the mutilation. Somewhere along the line, somebody will distort that alignment, the way it's going. It's either they distort it in terms of how wide it is, or they distort it in terms of how deep it is, or they distort it in such a way that the construction becomes faulty, in the sense that when it's supposed to flow in a positive direction, it flows in the reverse direction. So it's a very complex situation. So taking me back now, there are three types of drains in Lagos. We have what they call the tertiary, we have what is called the secondary, and we have what they call the primary channels. These tertiary channels are the ones that are in front of streets. I mean, those our normal streets. The secondary channels are supposed to collect water from the tertiary drains. You don't see the secondary channels regularly. They are hidden in between houses here and there. Then you have the main primary channels. Those ones you refer to them as canals as well, but you see them at intervals here and there. It depends on where you are. Now, as I'm coming here now, I saw PW trying to build a bridge across one of the canals there. You have the lagoon beside us there, the Lagos lagoon beside us there. So that channel is going to drain there. Without that channel, most areas
will be flooded.
Yes, representing the catchment of that canal will be flooded. So going back again, so people naturally distort or block some of these channels. Like I said, so many things happen. So many things happen during construction or after construction. Really, the channel is constructed, somebody will decide to come and build very close to it, and at the same time causing also obstruction to the performance of the channel.
In layman's language,
Yes.
when flooding incident occurs, what should residents of such places do? What actions should they take to minimize it?
If I'm going to advise anybody when flooding event occurs, I'll tell them to run and move away from the, because you cannot determine the power or the force behind the flow. If you take a water that is your ankle deep, when I say ankle, just near the leg there, it's not going to push you down. It's a line. You cannot estimate the velocity, the power, the force behind that flow. So, most important thing is you move away if it's a moving water. Now, if it's a stagnant water, you have to be careful. You don't have electrical power on, or else you get electrocuted, because water conducts electricity easily. So, unless they've taken the power away, now you now say you want to salvage some of your So the first rule is, when there's flooding, when it's raining and the water is rising or moving, so the first rule is try as much as possible to move away. Maybe when it's raining, you cannot come back and say you want to salvage whatever. So in the real time, before the rainy season, there's what they call the flood early warning systems. So I think government does that too on a regular basis. You have to make noise, do public advocacy to say people living near water bodies, people living near canals that are likely, people living inside wetlands, they need to plan for relocation just for the period of that rainy season. Then after, you can come back. And that's what they are doing for, I think that's what Lagos State is doing for River Ogun now. Okay, River Ogun is going to rise beyond level. So if you are living by the banks, please kindly leave so that you don't experience some bad experiences.
So you're saying nothing can be done to minimize the situation for people who are, living in flooded areas, who cannot afford to probably relocate or move to another place of residence at that time?
In the first instance, what do you call flooded area? If you build on the wetland, which government has no plan of putting up a canal there, definitely you are going to suffer the consequence of such action. Unless government comes there to say, okay, I'm going to give you a solution. I'm going to put, but if the planning says no development here, and you've gone there to build, definitely you suffer the consequence. So, but you have to note one thing: development is always superseding the effort of government to put infrastructure. That's it. And you have to note one thing: there are no farm grounds in Lagos at all. There are no good farm grounds. So all we have are wetlands, water bodies, and everybody's doing one form of reclamation, one form of modification. If you go along the shoreline at Lekki, you see all sort of modification being done. They are creating all sort of islands here and there. They're doing sand filling all over the whole place, and without actually looking at the consequences of such action. Even government is involved, not only individuals. We have government actually doing things.
The rainy seasons are here. What advice do you have for Lagosians to prevent flooding in this period? What preparations should Lagosians make to prevent flooding?
Yes, the first thing I'm going to say is that most Lagosians should try to become whistleblowers. They should try as much as possible to tell government that, okay, well, there's a canal beside us, so it's already filled up with garbage or debris, so please come on, remove it. Then they should also try to look even in their immediate surrounding that they are not dumping refuse inside the drain, or the drain around them. Then also this should help government to escalate the advocacy in the sense that those of them who are right on the wetland, they should begin to see how they're going to move away. So before the rain comes. But some people here in Lagos, like the largest, they believe that their culture to actually live in flooded areas. So that's why they build all the steel structure all over. You know the steel structure of those houses on wooden planks. So they build them all over. So they're not bothered. Some people will say maybe they have a god there that they worship, and they're not afraid of water. It's just like I remember during the time when the river used to flood so many areas around the corridor. We normally tell them to move away, to get away from flooded, but they're always refusing to move. They're always refusing. They are. So they, because having stakeholders meeting with them will tell them, look, their forefathers have been living there and nothing is going to happen to them. So
some areas in Lagos are prone to flood, but people still buy land to build even houses on these areas. What kind of developments do you think should be allowed in such areas?
There's a rule as part of the policy of Lagos State that if anybody must build in wetland or areas prone to water bodies, when I say water bodies, canals, maybe even the lagoon, you must seek for a permit called drainage clearance from the Lagos State Ministry of Environment, Office of Drainage Services. You must get that permit. That permit will advise you on how many meters you have to leave for the canal, or what and what you are supposed to do, or if the place is not buildable, they will tell you clearly. So the challenge is there is no synergy or coordination between different government agencies. When people bring their building drawings to physical planning or LASPA is to kind of look at it and say, okay, this place looks like a wetland. They are supposed to refer such people, say, go and get a drainage permit, or else we are not going to go ahead and process permit. But such synergy is now missing here and there. So I think they need to reawake. They need to do a kind of reawakening, and so they must be meeting regularly. Or in the alternative, Office of Drainage Services can decide to post a drainage engineer to LASPA to actually check this. Okay, this thing is along our canal, it's not along our canal, and stuff like that. So there are so many areas where you can actually try to store the impact of flooding before it happens down there.
So are you saying that people can still build houses in such areas if the drainage system is in check?
Exactly. There's no way. Structures are meant to be built anywhere. You can look at the pumps that they built in Dubai now. They built it on the, what's the name of that Gulf again? Is it the Arabian Gulf or whatever? It was built there. But they needed to fulfill all environmental and structural conditions. So what we are not doing right is that we don't take our time to actually put a lot of effort to get the right design or the best output out. I don't know whether maybe people are trying to make easy money here and there. They just say put it there, do it like that. So at the end of the day, they will suffer the consequences of such action. Yeah.
You've been mentioning land reclamation, in our conversation, and I think you agree that this is happening, or it happens because there is less available land for development. So what is your view about land reclamation, especially in terms of its implication now and in the future?
In a situation where you have water bodies, wetland is a definition of area temporary or permanently flooded. So in a situation where you have inavailability of land and we need to develop, there's nothing wrong in doing land reclamation. But what is wrong is not doing the reclamation well. Now, Lagos State does not have a reclamation policy as we are speaking now. So it's a challenge. So, and people are not properly regulated on what to be done in land reclamation. The first rule in land reclamation is they must provide drainage, because you are displacing water from where you are doing reclamation. So this water that you have displaced, how do you account for it, especially on wetland? How do you drain it out? Okay, let me give you example of the negativity in land reclamation. The Lekki Peninsula. Lekki Peninsula starts from mobile headquarters there by the side of the Itene Canal, all the way to Ibeju. Now, in Lekki Peninsula, you have some lowland, then you have some high ground. The Lekki Peninsula road that you are seeing, that from Oniru to Epe, has a minimum height of about 3 meters above mid-sea level. So if anybody at all is going to build, they're supposed to build at that height. At some points along the road, you have 4-point-something meters above mid-sea level. The government scheme that we have there is about 3 meters above mid-sea level. You discover that if you are driving from the Lekki road itself into Admiralty, discover that you are nearly at the same level as the road. That's essentially what reclamation is all about. Reclamation must be done, especially in coastal area, must be done in such a way that you are higher than the mid-sea level for you to drain properly. Now, having said all this, some people will now go behind again and start. If you look at Elegushi naturally was not reclaimed and they built, so they got into a problem. Now they are now doing another sand filling after the Elegushi. You know the problem with what they are doing? They are creating problems for people living near the Atlantic Ocean, because they are supposed to drain northwards. Nobody drains into the Atlantic Ocean because of some coastal restriction. When I say coastal restriction, it has to do with coastal behavior, characteristic of coastal shoreline behavior. So, Elegushi has sand filled further. So, when you sand fill further, you are now increasing the energy to drive the flow from the. You see, when you design drainage channel, like I said, origin part 4, there is a particular energy that you have to use to drive the flow there. So, but when you increase the distance further to the part 4, you need extra energy to drive it. And the only energy that we use in driving flow in Lagos State is gravitational energy. Most of the time you use elevations to drive it. So now, the elevation that you are using to drive water to the initial shoreline of Elegushi, you have finished it. Now, when they increase it, that is, they are increasing the hydraulic length again, you need to now go backwards and increase the height for people living near the Atlantic Ocean shoreline. You discover that it's not possible because the place is already built up. So this is another problem. So the strategy there is that you have to design for an interceptor drain before you actually do. You must have designed properly during the reclamation, before you start your reclamation, to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We will have looked at several, and I'm trying to give a picture of what is happening in Lekki now, which nobody is actually controlling. Everybody is just building and will create flooding problems in the future for others. People who naturally are not supposed to have flooding, but they will get that flooding in future. So when we're saying is flooding reducing or increasing, I cannot say.
So unfortunately, increasing.
It's increasing. But
do you think one agency can solve the problem of flooding in Lagos, and what kind of cooperation do you suggest for agencies of government?
I have tried to answer that question by saying that there must be synergy. There must be a kind of links, coordination between all the agencies all the time, so that, as a matter of fact, in the real sense, you may not actually need a drainage agency to solve flooding problem. You have a well-equipped planning and development control agency, because they will have seen the future before starting. But because of the peculiarity of Lagos in a low-lying area and wetland, you have to come up with agency to deal with issues relating to river flooding. Because I know Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development may not be able to tackle river flooding. You have to have an agency to deal with the coastal flooding. Then you have an agency to manage the wetlands too. The Lagos wetlands are not actually being managed well. They are allowing every Dick and Harry to capture the wetland and turn it into a normal land, which creates problems.
As a prospective buyer,
Yes.
you know, who wants to buy a piece of land, what are the things that, you know, to look out for so you don't become a victim of flooding?
Yeah, first of all, if you want to buy a land, first of all, look at whether you have vegetation. Like, do you know mangrove vegetation? Or let me use the Yoruba word. The vegetation associated with Opano. Immediately you see that, then you know that there's a lot of water underneath there. A lot of water. That's one. Two, look around whether they have very good drainage system there. And if they don't have, that's an indication. Also, the other most important thing is, if you want to buy your land in Lagos, just wait till the rainy season comes. So you go there during the rainy season and look at the characteristics of what's
Of the area.
Then you now make up your mind. Because flooding is a recurrent issue. It's going to be a recurrent, as you are solving one flooding problem somewhere, another one is emergence.
How about someone who is looking to rent an apartment?
If you're looking to rent an apartment, well, if you're looking to rent an apartment, okay, let me give you one example. Oshakpa, London. It's not that I'm trying to discredit the property companies there or the property. Oshakpa, London is when the Elegushi family, I don't know whether it's Elegushi or what's the name of the other family, sold. They encourage everybody to build at the wetland level. The Lekki Peninsula Expressway was far higher than the mangrove swamp there. So most people built right on the swamp. So by the time other developments came around, because you have other estates surrounding Oshakpa, London, they blocked the flow line. As a matter of fact, they reclaimed higher than them, than Oshakpa, London. So Oshakpa, London now found it extremely difficult to discharge. But despite that, people are renting houses there. You just go there during the rainy season and you just discover these beautiful homes are being flooded. That's the truth. But the later developers, I mean people who came in to develop it, they further compounded the problem of the area in the sense that they reclaimed higher. So some people have demolished their first house there in Oshakpa, London. Some people have packed up, but the flooding problem is there.
It's recurrent.
Because, like I said, we have the way we manage our flooding system here, that we use gravitational method. When I say gravitational method, we use the height of the ground, we use height of the water, then part of the discharge. But mostly in Lagos, we use the difference in height, the difference in elevations to drive our flow. So if somebody is higher than you downstream, definitely there's no way you can discharge if you are using gravitational method. The only thing to resort to is that maybe you use pumping. And pumping is complex. most important thing, you must have constant electricity. Constant electricity. Then also you have to do what I would call a kind of wall and contain the water somewhere so that there's no other water coming in as you are pumping out, because if you allow that water to be coming out, it's a perpetual pumping, you are wasting your time. You're not going to deflood anywhere. So you want to buy property, go during the rainy season. I said, maybe you want to rent a flat, preferably if you I will still continue to use the Lekki Peninsula as a reference, in the sense that so many things are happening there and government is not regulating it, and so it's like a time bomb waiting to happen. It may not happen in 10 years, it may not even happen at my lifetime, but something is going to happen. If you don't have already you have erosion going on and government is trying to control it. They stopped that just after what's the name of this beach, Alpha Beach. But further down, you are still having the erosion going on. It's going all the way to Lekko in Beju, all the way you have erosion going on towards all the ports that they are building there. You still have constant erosion going on.
Is it correct that if you want to rent an apartment and you can see wall lines, like water lines on the walls, is that an implication also?
Now? Okay, that's, you are looking at an apartment and already you have a house that is already experiencing distress from flooding. Okay, there's what they call capillary action. When you build inside water, water tends to rise naturally, will try to flow. The reason why you're having capillary action is that the water may be trying to find a balance between other water bodies around. So all the time you must have the capillary action there. You see the lines, water lines there, that to tell you that, okay, well, maybe there is water bodies somewhere around there, that this water level is trying to catch up. Naturally, flooded houses now, you see all the greens around there. When I use the green, you see the green inside the building itself. Algae trying to grow, and you have the vegetation outside there. So trying to.
Where can a citizen go to report activities that may cause flooding, and probably obtain information that would help them in deciding to buy a parcel of land and prevent flooding?
The question is, do we have such structure of ground? What I said one thing earlier, that if you really want to build in water in a wetland area, the best thing, take a copy of your survey and go to the planning department or officer of drainage services and ask them to chart that thing for you, whether it's inside the drainage wetland or drainage alignment or drainage right of way. That's your first port of call if you really want to prevent your house or your development being flooded in future. The other thing is that you can ask LASPA, Lagos State Physical Planning Permit Authority, to actually forward your document to Ministry of Environment to help give their own assessment. So you have two MDAs to go to. Whether you go to Ministry of Physical Planning, then LASPA, then go to Ministry of Environment.
So in what area can a developer or a prospective developer engage your services as an hydraulic engineer,
All my life, I've been doing a lot of, formally, I've been doing a lot of drainage design network. I can point my fingers to several drainage systems in Lagos I've actually been involved with in terms of design, even before the master plan came out, and also which I've supervised construction on. If the construction of all the drainage crossing on this Lekki thing that was upgraded from Oniru all the way to VGC was actually done under my supervision. We did that between 2009 and 2012 when LCC LCC was building the road. So we actually gave them all the training. Then the same thing with the Lagos Badagry that you are seeing there. I designed most of the crossings for them and the alignments where they take. So I want my services. All you have to, if you are starting afresh, I can help with our reclamation design, drainage design, layouts of the estate, and I get involved with master plan, city model, master plan. I offer services there. I serve as consultant all the time.
Do developers who deal with low-income buildings like bungalows or 2 stories, do they need the services of an hydraulic engineer?
If you are building Lagos now, because of the scarcity of land, people are not building bungalows. Let's say they are trying to build some kind of high-rise building because the cost of reclamation is quite exorbitant. So, low-income earner cannot even afford. Okay, if you're going to charge you for the cost of building, the cost of reclamation will be a consequential factor inside the cost of building. So low-income earners may not be able to afford building on wetland or reclaimed area. It's just like, okay, let's look at reclaimed areas in Lagos. How many low-income people can afford it? Reclaimed areas in Lekki, they can't afford it. Reclaimed areas, even the Alebushi that I've just mentioned, even reclaimed areas are on mainland too. Not so. Lagos. When you say low income, you can only put low income building maybe outside the islands of Lagos. Maybe you put low income building in Ekpe, or you still have some high grounds in Ekpe. Here in Ikorodu, you still have some high grounds there. Then the same thing going towards even Ota. If you don't have land along these areas, or the western part of Lagos, you still have some high grounds where it can be low. Or if you want to build on the islands, I don't see anybody building on the islands without actually doing foundation improvement. Foundation improvement is what we refer to as reclamation too.
What is your take as an engineer on the order from the government on the restriction of buildings in Ebute-Metta, Lagos to 3 floors? What is your thought on that? And thinking about its implication on the society, what do you have to say about that?
I think government should not have made order. All they needed to do is to escalate their capacity to manage what they call foundation engineering. Ebute-Metta is like the foreshore of the Lagos mainland itself. And if you look at the soil properties there, you have what they call compressible clay. And the deal is, you, as a government agency, you just go there and say, okay, well, this is the kind of foundation that we can allow for you to do development here. Your foundation may be in form of soil improvement. First of all, do soil improvement, or you may decide to use piles to take it to farm ground further down. So coming out with such a policy is such that they are trying to stifle economic development. Ebute-Metta is a prime location. If you look at the origin of Ebute-Metta in the past, the average civil servant that could not live in Ikoyi were taken back to Ebute-Metta to come and live there. And you can see that it's well arranged. It's the foreshore that emerged. And when I say foreshore, you have mixture of water and compressible soil, highly compressible soil, which I will refer to as peat. And to put a structure there, you must properly understand the soil properties. From the soil properties, you now understand what kind of foundation you need to put there. So I've said it, you can put any structure anywhere, inside water, inside any form of soil property. but you must have studied its properties so in order to come up with a proper foundation.
As long as you check all the boxes, you can have your
So
development.
what the government is supposed to do is to have experts, soil experts, and say, okay, here and there, these are the conditions that are applicable, that are available, that you can do. So just putting abstract ban on development. In the real sense, government is supposed to have taken over the Wetlands foreshore. Redeem is trying to build an iconic project there now. Have you heard about the Coastal Church? That's what they're building now. If you pass on Third Mainland Bridge, you see them sinking piles over piles, different piles. They want to build a church. It's like I said, an iconic church. It's going to be, I'm very sure by the time you're entering Lagos, when they finish that project, everybody will be looking at that property and saying, what is happening there? You can get there by boat, you can get there by helicopter, you can get, it's iconic. If you go to Dove Channel, they normally advertise the iconic project there, but it's ongoing. They're building now. And by the time Redeem, you know the Redeem headquarters is there. By the time Redeem finishes the construction and the property, I'm very sure the Okobaba Sawmill there may likely be displaced naturally. Since they are resisting government now from moving, I mean they are resisting, they don't want to go to wherever they want to put their Bagbawa or wherever. That iconic project is going to cause a lot of displacement. And so this is where government too is supposed to be looking at the shoreline there. That's why I say sometimes government sleeps and allow development to go on. Yeah, to proceed. By now they're supposed to have seen what is on ground here, what kind of development can we allow. Okay, so you have to escalate the capacity to deal with the coming trend. That's just what I advise Minister of Fiscal Planning to do. But if that project comes on ground, the entire facade, the entire landscape is going to change because everybody wants to be part of the iconic project.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Would like you to say something about the Cable Plus property endeavor, give some pieces of advice as well.
Yes, this is the right step in the right direction. It's only that my wish for you is maybe you have your cable property TV station where people will subscribe and say they did this, they need advice, they need technical expertise here and there, so that you can always offer them. Okay, that's where I see you going. Okay, that should be the pick.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the conversation. Remember to hit the subscribe button below, share this video with friends and family, and head on to our social media pages on Instagram and Facebook at Cable Plus Property. Like, follow our pages, and share our posts as well. My name is Oiza. I'll see you in the next video.